Hello guys, how are you? I hope you're doing good. Okay, in this video we're going to continue talking about programming and robotics. Okay, so now we're going to try to learn a little bit about how to prepare the instructions to program a control system. Okay, so you remember we had two types of control system. We have open loop, in which the system doesn't receive any signal from the surroundings. For example, we have a toaster. We only set the time and the timer, and the toaster is working for a while until the bread is done. But there is no control about how the bread is done. So there is no information about the surrounding. And in a closed loop system, we have a sensor, and the sensor is sending information to the controller to make sure that we're getting something from the surrounding. We get the information about whatever is happening outside, and we can compare this with the decided signal. So we use the example of the irrigating system with the humidity sensor and the like. So now we're going to talk a little bit how to program a control system. So normally, the control system have a microcontroller. It can be like a board, like the Arduino board. And a way to access to this board is by using a computer. So what we do is create a program in a computer. We send this program to the microcontroller, and then the microcontroller is able to take decision according to the information coming from the sensors and send these decisions to the actuator. Okay, so there are many different programming languages we can use in a computer. But before that, we had to think what type of instructions to include in the program. So it's a good idea that before designing the program itself, we remember the concept of algorithm. Okay, this is something you already studied. So the algorithm is a series of instructions of a step we have to follow to perform an activity. If you remember, we use these symbols to design the flow chart. Okay, the diagram flow. A flow chart is a way to show the instruction in a standard way. So you remember, we start a process with the symbol. When we have a process, we use the rectangle. When we are entering data or we get that data from the system, we use this rhomboid. And a very important one is the decision. When we have this rhombus, it's because the program or the system has to take a decision, and the answer has to be yes or not. Okay, so example of flow chart. For example, we want to work. We're going to repair a lamp, or there is a problem with the lamp. It's a very simple example in which we check if the lamp is plugged in. If not, we have to plug it. If so, we have to check the bulb, and then we have two options. So this is a case in which we are drawing this instruction in a very easy way just by using a flowchart symbol. Another typical example is when we go to buy a burger, for example, a McDonald's or a shop. The guy there at selling the burgers is following some instruction. This instruction can be described in this flowchart. When you order a burger, normally they follow some instruction, like asking for you want fries. Depending on your answer, his answer is ordering fries or not. And normally the people there ask if you need a drink, and then depending on the drink, maybe you say yes, and there will be another flowchart here deciding what type of drink. But let's make this easy for you to understand, and the algorithm finishes when you pay. Okay, this is a very simple example of how to design a flowchart to include instruction in a program. So we have three types of algorithms. We have the sequential one, in which we have an instruction after the other. There are no decisions to take. For example, when you go to class, you listen to explanation, you do the exam, and that's all. We have another type of algorithm in which we have decisions to make. We call that conditional algorithm. Why? Because there is a condition, and depending on the condition, you take a path or another. For example, when you are taking an exam, depending if you get more than a 5, then you pass. If not, you fail. So this is a condition with two options. Finally, we have iterative algorithms in which something is being repeated several times. For example, when you have the opportunity to retake an exam, you have the average mark, and did you get more than 5 out of 5, you pass. If not, you can repeat the exam several times until you pass. Okay, so these are the three type of main algorithm we use. In our system, when we have our computer and we have a program, the first thing we had to do is design the algorithm. Once we design it, we had to pass it to a program, Scratch, S4A, IDE, whatever, and then we put this program into the computer. To use something you already know, you remember when we programmed in a Scratch, the start or end of process is what we used to do using the green flag or pressing a key or a sprite. A process is an action that happens, for example, moving the sprite or saying something or playing music. Every time we had to enter information into the program, you use the ask instruction, and then we use the answer of the sprite. And finally, the decision, as I told you, is a very important one. It's the if condition. Okay, so we have if, this is the yes answer, or maybe we have if then yes and else correspond to the no. Okay, but to program real control system, we don't use Scratch. We use different program that we will learn in the future. Now, before we learn how to program this, I would like you to think about these three systems: a heating system that you can find in your house, a washing machine, and a microwave. And I would like you to think about them and decide if they are open or closed loop systems, and see if you are able to design an algorithm to describe their basic functioning. Okay, so this is the first challenge after watching this video. Okay, goodbye.